Hello, everybody, and welcome to Optimism Fractal. We're here back from our summer break on our 67th episode, halfway through our sixth season. I'm so pleased to be here with Will, Tadas, and Eric. Will is having a great time here. If anyone would like to say hello, then please feel free to do so. It's so great to see you guys again, and I hope that everybody had a great break, and thanks everybody for tuning in as well.
That beautiful OP fractal footage.
All right. We heard it from Will. I'm going to roll the beautiful OP fractal footage. Speaking of which, we have optimistic times. We have some beautiful imagery from the Optimistics. I'm going to give a little presentation about Optimism Fractal for those who aren't familiar, as well as introduce you to today's respect game. And then we'll have a fun time. We'll hear from everybody and give each other some respect. So we're here kicking off a second season, or second half of the Optimism Fractal sixth season, pioneering collaborative governance across the Superchain and fostering collaboration and awarding public goods creators all across Optimism. The wonderful forest of optimism, you might say. So everyone's welcome to join. You can check out the new video from the most recent episode, OF66, as well as check out this Twitter thread for contribution summaries of people doing great stuff in the community and on Optimism. And more details, encourage you to check out the thread, like it, retweet it from the Optimistics, and get involved and invite friends to the upcoming Optimism Fractal events if you're watching. I put out this post from the Optimistics account and a couple other places, kind of welcoming everybody back and kind of reflecting upon the progress that's happened in the Optimism Fractal community and the three ecosystems that we support, the Ethereum ecosystem, the Superchain, and the Fractal ecosystem, over the past month and a half since our last event during our summer break. So, kind of inviting everyone to join and saying that everyone's welcome to join, even if you're new or if you're experienced with fractals or optimism. I also want to give a quick overview too. So Ethereum recently celebrated its 10-year anniversary with thousands of builders and creators contributing to one of the largest open source communities in the world. Ethereum and the Ethereum Foundation has been leading Ethereum along with many great companies. And there's just been a lot of progress overall in the Ethereum ecosystem with the market cap over doubling over the past few months and lots of big companies contributing. So just wanted to give a quick update to people who may be following or may not be following the Ethereum ecosystem so much, but this is providing a helpful ground for Optimism Fractal to grow. And the Superchain, of course, Optimism Fractal is supporting the Superchain. And it's been growing with the Ronin network, Superform base at all times high, and TVL and World Chain growing aggressively, as well as many great applications. So I'm not going to go through all the details here. Just want to give you a high-level overview of some of the progress that's happened in the Fractal ecosystem before I get into Optimism Fractal and show you the website and stuff like that. And of course, the Fractal ecosystem, there's been a lot of great updates going on with Eden Fractal, the Zaal Fractal, and the Fractal Impact Concert that was hosted by EZ over the break as well. So I encourage you to check it out, and I'll provide links throughout this presentation where you could look into more details. There's also several videos you can watch to catch up. And we are now approaching Optimism Fractal's 2-year anniversary. It will be happening in October, around October 20th or so. So that's marking nearly 2 years of consistent weekly events or bi-weekly events that have built tremendous momentum for fractal democracy on Ethereum. So we can talk about that and plan our third year during today's episode as well. So thanks everyone for being here and all the great contributions for almost the past 2 years here now at Optimism Fractal, or for however long you've been joining us. And if you're not familiar with Optimism Fractal, it's a community dedicated to fostering collaboration, awarding public goods creators, and optimizing governance on the superchain. I encourage you to explore optimismfractal.com, where you can learn about the bi-weekly events that everyone can join to network, make friends, and collaborate with talented builders on Superchain, and the Respect Games, which is the innovative on-chain social game that pioneers new forms of community coordination that we play. At each event, basically, we each share what we've done to help Optimism, help the Superchain, and collaborate to rank each other's contributions and earn respect, which is a soul-bound token that provides growing benefits as our reputation system expands. We would sometimes go into breakout rooms for this to create a large-scale democratic kind of collaboration, and you can watch and play. So everyone's welcome to join these videos as well as watch the videos at optimismfractal.com/videos, and also explore the Optimistics Toolkit, an open source suite of tools for community coordination and decentralized governance that we're pioneering that allow people to play the respect game and make decisions on-chain with respect in a democratic manner. Optimism Fractal is an excellent place to develop your on-chain career and business, whether you're new to Web3 or an experienced builder or an organizational leader or community leader. You can grow your reputation, learn how to use tools and games, and grow communities with respect. learn more about all these things on the website, as well as some of the feedback we've received from participants over the past couple of years and benefits of Optimism Fractal and the open source repositories and Notion sites where you can get involved in building in public with us, as well as earning funding through retro funding and other sources in the Ethereum ecosystem and Optimism Superchain. Optimism Fractal has been pioneering the future of governance. And it's kind of the combination of dozens and hundreds of builders working on fractal democracy. You can learn more about our history and the intents that we follow, and how you can get involved with the Optimism Fractal Sages Council and what is respect and how you can earn it, as well as our on-chain software like ORDAO and the apps like Fractogram. Encourage you to explore the website to learn more. We often do Optimism Town Hall, but we have been not doing those lately, but there's a rule that was recently approved by the Optimism Fractal Council where anybody can propose to start up Optimism Town Hall events. For anybody who didn't catch that news, anybody can make a proposal on the Optimism Fractal on the Optimism Town Hall snapshots page. Optimism Fractal is founded and presented by Optimistics. Learn more at optimistics.io, and we're supported by Eden Fractal. And we're building the Superchain together, an interconnected network of blockchains scaling Ethereum on the OP stack, alongside OP mainnet, Base, World, Sonium, Inc., Unichain, Zora, Mode, many other great networks. Learn more at optimism.io and ethereum.org. And the best way to get involved with Optimism Fractal is to join our bi-weekly events on Thursdays at 17 UTC. We hope to see you there, as well as meet whoever you'd like to invite. You can keep up to date with Optimism Fractal on the Optimism Governance Forum, where we have these seasonal threads. So, for example, this is our sixth season, so you can see 10 posts here where we have some highlights as well as prior seasonal threads. We started the season back a few months ago now, and we're halfway through. So you can explore other things that have been going on across the year and across the seasons here on the Optimism Governance Forum. And feel free to reach out in the Discord, as well as check out the Optimism Fractal videos here on optimismfractal.com/videos, along with timestamps and everything like that. And loot.matches Optimistics is where you can RSVP to join the events. I already gave some community news, so I won't go too into detail about this, but I'll just give a quick high-level overview. I also posted that on Paragraph for the first time in a while, too, so that's where you can see some of those updates about Ethereum, the Superchain, and the Fractal ecosystem. And encourage everybody to just check out the Ethereum accounts and ethereum.org and stuff like that to see some of the progress. I give it just a high level overview of some of the great stuff going on in Ethereum and Optimism, because well, we have a respect game to play. But there's really a lot of great stuff going on. And so if you check out my post and check out the accounts from Optimism and Ethereum, these are places where you can learn a lot about things that are happening in the ecosystem, as well as in the Fractal ecosystem too. We have the Fractally Mighty Network, and we recently had Eden Fractal return from its summer break. So we had a great event last week there, and I had put out some posts over here too, where we adopted the Eden Plus Fractal consensus process. So I'm going to say that momentarily. I also wanted to show everybody the Fractal Impact Concert too. So this was hosted by Easy and Jose, and they invited some great musicians, and we celebrated fractal democracy and had a lot of interviews with people talking about fractal governance and sharing their thoughts about it. So it was a really inspiring event that happened over the break, and great to see all the community. Yeah, it was awesome to see all the community enthusiasm for fractal governance, and big shout out to the organizers and everybody who participated in this event. You can find on the Eden Careers YouTube channel, as well as the NFT Smart YouTube channel. Also, new videos coming out from Eden Fractal, where we're playing the respect game, building abundance together, and the Eden Town Hall episodes, which have been happening every other week after Eden Fractal episodes. We talked about the legislative consensus process, and the impact concert there. And just a quick overview too. Encourage people to check out the most recent Eden Plus Fractal or Eden Fractal episodes to learn about Eden Plus Fractal. If you're interested in fractal governance, Eden Fractal has been operating on Base, playing respect games for the past several months now, and we recently implemented this new consensus process, or we actually brought back an old consensus process that we've been doing for the past few years, and it's comparable to the Optimism Fractal Council. It's a legislative governance process, so there's now an article about this and how it plays a role in fractal governance on the Eden Fractal blog that you can check out, and of course you can check out optimismfractal.com/council to see how the Optimism Fractal community makes decisions. And you can check out the Eden Fractal Epoch 2 governance post to stay up to date with Eden Fractal. And of course, as always, you can check out all the videos from Optimism Fractal, Eden Fractal, and the Fractal ecosystem, or some of the videos from the Fractal ecosystem on the Eden Careers YouTube channel, and register for all these events on the Optimistics event calendar. We'll be having Eden Fractal and Eden Town Hall next week, and then the next Optimism Fractal event will be returning again in 2 weeks. So with that, we're going to play the respect game. So I think, yeah, everybody here knows how to play it. We have a bunch of OGs here, but for anybody who's watching and isn't familiar with the respect game, basically what we do is we each take about 4 or 5 minutes to share what we did to contribute to optimism and the Superchain. And then we will work to rank each other's contributions to determine who helped the most, who helped the second most, who helped the third most, or so forth. We'll probably share what we did over the break. You can learn more at optimistyx.io/respect game. And so, yeah, that's what we'll do here. There's more game rules, like we have to reach consensus, and if we reach consensus, then we'll all receive respect, and people with higher rankings will receive more respect according to the Fibonacci ratio. But everybody here knows how it works, and anybody who's watching, I encourage you to check out the article, which you can find on optimismfractal.com. And so we're going to get into it. Feel free to share your screen. Feel free to share any links to your work, and I hope that everybody has a great time. Thanks everybody for being here. And if anybody wants to go first and share what they've been up to, on Optimism, or in general, if you wanted to share any quick updates, then feel free. The floor is now open.
Well, I think the last time we met was July 24th, right? And I think I missed that one because I had a conflict on that. That was a season-ending event, yeah?
That was the first half of the season-ending event. So we're
Yeah,
still in season
yeah,
six, but
right.
yeah,
Okay, that's what I meant. The last session before the break. So
yes.
I'm going to talk through everything. I'm not going to share my screen. And let me tell you what I've been up to. So, Dan, if you'd be so kind to start the timer. And then
Okay.
I will talk through the work that we've been doing since the last time we were here at Optimism Fractal. So, supporting the superchain is very important. We all know that because the superchain feeds back into ETH or Ethereum mainnet, right? So there's a lot of development that's been going on, especially in the Optimism ecosystem, that's supportive of further development and enhancements to ETH mainnet. That being said, since the last time we met, we've closed out this program now. We ran a program exclusively on Celo, which is one of the layer twos that's part of the Superchain ecosystem, bringing TEDx style talks into Web3 using 100% Web3 tooling. So all the way through the program, basically the emphasis of the program is content creation, event management, recorded videos, and then building a rewards mechanism for these content creators to benefit from too. So that's the gist of it. We successfully completed the program. The output of that is that we will have 4 videos that will be collectible on base mainnet soon. So that's also supporting the Optimism or the Superchain ecosystem. So we will have those coming soon, I hope before the end of this month, and hopefully before the next time that we meet. Those will be available so you guys can go check them out. We did have 4 very impactful creators come through out of our original solicitation of 20. We had 1 late entry, so 21. So I think that in the grand scheme of things, judging the program overall at this point, it was a success. We had Zaal come through from the Zaal. We had Mr. G, who's a financial educator, come through. We had myself, and then we also had Jimi Cohen do his talk as well, who is the founder of the Tree Gens DAO, and success story on them. They just did a token launch for their governance token on Base Network as well. So that's a major milestone in the history of KF Media, to be able to not only manage that, but run it, have some quality outputs of it, and then work towards a monetization level for the creators. A follow-up to that is we will be having another open call next month, in the month of October. We're giving priority to those who couldn't schedule time to do their talks within that open call. So that's going to be about 10 people or so, I think. We'll fill up those first 10 slots, and then we'll open it up to the larger community to fill up remaining slots. And I feel that the more that we do this, and we do show emphasis on the Superchain ecosystem, it's really cool. Also, as part of the Superchain ecosystem, I did collect some more badges on my Superchain account, and also my Prosperity Passport, which is more of a regen-centric evaluation, the Prosperity Passport is, and that. Additionally, I did get invited to a residency program. We do have an active campaign, fundraising campaign right now on Farcaster against that. but should everything go as planned, I will be attending a residency from October 18th to November 17th in San Martin de los Andes. That's in the Andes Mountains in Argentina, to learn more about what it takes to create a local community hub, which feeds right back into our other two programs, our Pathways programs, Pathways for Latam and Pathways for Global Adoption, in bringing the local community effort onto the global stage as well. So yeah, that's very exciting opportunity, and hopefully I hit my goal in fundraising between now and let's say 3 weeks from now is my personal goal to achieve that. And then I'll be able to travel there and spend that month-long residency in person with a lot of great impact makers in Argentina. That's all I have to say for today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Will, and congratulations on all the progress and success with KF Media and your program, as well as your acceptance into the residency. And that sounds awesome. I would love to hear more updates about that along the way. Also, I would personally love if you want to share any links so I could dive in deeper to these things. For example, you said there's some videos that's going to be available. I think there's also an agreement about that too with Jimi and Zaal and other kind of things you mentioned. So I would love if you want
Yeah.
to share any links and also pick
The,
somebody to go next whenever you're ready too.
yeah, those links aren't available as of right now because we're working with getting the content uploaded to our to the marketplace where those will be housed. But I can mention we do have a formal relationship with book.io, which extends to stuff.io. So that will be the marketplace for distribution of the videos. I will share links in the chat about the residency program and about the fundraising campaign using the mini app on Farcaster, which I did also put in the Optimism channel on Farcaster as well for the 100 and so people that subscribe to that channel. So no worries.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you, Will. I look forward to looking at those links whenever you share. You said you're going to share some stuff now, and then also whenever you have more available to share, would love to check that out as well.
And I'm going to pick on Mr. Eric because I want to know what he's been up to on the break.
Just goofing off, not doing anything. I don't know.
Eric's always goofing.
No, I'm just working 7 days a week, but I'm hopefully 2026, I'll get out of that habit. So, I thought a lot over the break between the interaction and integration between Eden Fractal and Optimism and the optimistics. I look at the Eden Fractal more as methodologies for decision making. And then optimism, we talk about infrastructure and we talk about getting funding and executing public goods. I don't know if I have that right, but that's kind of trying to figure out how we go, because we have done some infrastructure work within the Eden Fractal too. Part of that has been for app development, which I think Will knows that I've been working on and helping fund Abraham for an easy to use app that we can deliver, and it fits into existing organization and works with people that don't have technical training or the knowledge that a lot of people in this group have. So as I roll toward January and getting this out, with two partners I have right now that I've secured over the break. One is Startup San Diego, so full signed in partner. They have thousands of members and about a 40% open rate on their emails, so that's pretty darn good. And the other one is Aquillius. So we got a nonprofit approved and built about 40 to 50 volunteers and moving forward on that. How does that fit into optimistics? How do we get the idea of here's this additional dimension which can help you get your projects funded and launched? The other thing is I start moving from research into a funded organization, thinking about, how do we get this working? And there's kind of three things to focus on. One of them is on strategy. The great organizations that grow actually have a very streamlined, clear strategy that changes all the time because the world changes, but they have that core strategic group. The other one is execution, which is how do we make things work with the minimum of time because we don't have very many people. So things like Tadas is working on all that, how do we put these systems in place and methodology so this thing keeps going? And the other part of that is energy, which is what a lot of Dan and Rosemary put into it. It doesn't work unless you have energy. Otherwise, people get burned out and they leave. So, so the bottom line, moving ahead on my research, I should get my onboarding package done hopefully by Sunday, and then reach out to you guys to help me test the onboarding. And then I'm working on the trigger with Startup San Diego to actually put that out. But in that framework of the first stages of getting the fractal system into organizations in ways that they can understand and use without caring about anything that we talk about in detail here, because that's not where most people are. And then thinking about, okay, as this thing starts to go in 2026, how do I then integrate the goodness of optimism into multiple groups, such as we have for helping startups and the other things with government funding and technical startups. So I'm working with life science, bio, clean tech on one hand, and then more basic software startups and on the other hand. So that's kind of it. Rolling out what I have, making good to go agreements and training, getting those closed up for actual implementing out a fractal system in the real world. And second of all, is starting to think, okay, 2026 isn't that far away, and as the system goes live and all that, how do then I incorporate the infrastructure, the and the funding and delivery of good works into nonprofit organizations? I don't have the answer to that, but that's why we're here. So hopefully I explained that okay.
I see Will giving a thumbs up.
All right. So then
Sounds
Tadas can
good.
explain the secrets of the universe to us now.
And Dan, in case you didn't notice, all the links on my talk are in the chat now as well.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Will. And thank you, Eric, as well.
Okay, so lately I'd say I was more focused on fractal ecosystem as a whole rather than Superchain or Optimism. Yeah, so my contributions will be similar to what I presented in Eden Fractal last week. I helped Harvesto with his research. He's researching consensus mechanisms being used in fractal organizations. And specifically, like, I helped him clear up the objective of his research and came up with what I called ontology of coordination. So basically terminology to be used when talking about coordination, consensus mechanisms, organizations, and so on, because as we were talking, we realized that different people see these terms differently. For example, some people see respect game as a consensus mechanism, some people do not see it that way and see Eden Plus Fractal as consensus mechanism. So yeah, I tried to bring some clarity by defining these terms clearly, and found some interesting implications from that. But anyway, so and then I also thought about different designs for Eden Plus Fractal app and actually legislative apps in general. So in Optimism Fractal, it would be the council, our council mechanism to pass proposals. Yeah, so I still believe you probably need like these two branches, legislative, what we call legislative, although I think we could have a better name for it, where we build consensus, and executive like ORDAO, where we implement it on chain. So yeah, right now, I was thinking about like how this legislative part brings different challenges from executive, and I was thinking about like general solutions for that. And yeah, we discussed it a lot with Dan as well. Yes, and this week and last week um, I did a lot of like research and development of ideas regarding how to attract more financial contributions to fractals. So I took an approach of seeing like financial donations to fractal as a type of contribution, and how for which you could get respect in respect game meetings, and then I thought if services would be provided for respect holders in a way where you could like expire them by usage, that would give utility to respect, and that would incentivize someone to donate, get respect, and then get the service. So that's something, that's a sketch of some of the ideas I was thinking about. I already shared it with Dan. I want to prepare that document a little bit more before sharing it publicly. Yes, and that's about all. Plus typical administrative tasks of executing ORDAO proposals for Optimism Fractal as well as Eden Fractal. So that's all. And yeah, we'll comment that I also see respect game as a reputation mechanism. Yes, I see it that way as well. For me, respect is reputation primitive, and respect game is a consensus mechanism to agree on respect distribution. Okay, Dan.
All right. Thank you, Tadas. I see Will gave you an applause for that little ontology you put out there. And yeah, I enjoyed reading about your ontology and all the collaborations and things you mentioned. And thanks everybody for sharing the links too. Looking forward to diving into all these links that Eric shared about Aquillius and Simbiosyx. Is that how you pronounce it, do you say? And links that Tadas shared and Will shared.
Yeah, it's Simbiosyx. That's one of the projects I'm thinking of. How do I integrate that with what we're doing? And that is an AI that I've been working on with Aquillius to automatically match companies with experts and be
Okay.
able to even do it on a sweat equity basis. So you can do it as a mentor's free, as a rate. Here's what it costs to rent Dan or Tadas or Will, and here's how you invest in an equity pool, so that even if the company that you were being an expert on goes out of business, it doesn't matter because you're getting a piece of the whole equity pool. And Tadas would be very happy with all the infrastructure work to handle the cap tables and the legal and make that stuff seamless for you to get an expert and not have to worry about managing the venture pools and the legal and the term sheets of the cap tables. And So that's what I was thinking of what Tadas was talking about. How could we use his skill? But I like very much what Tadas is. That idea of going back to basics and getting common definitions, I think, is really important.
Yeah, I agree. The ontology is very important. And yeah, maybe I'll go ahead now and share mine, but also maybe put a pin in that idea about you mentioned the word sweat equity, and I was thinking about that too. I a long time ago I read a book about Habitat of Humanity, and I was learning about it again recently, and they mentioned that term, and I think it's somewhat similar to what Tadas and I were thinking about, where people could, it's not equity, but where people could join events and be able to access services and stuff like that without having to pay. It's an interesting idea. But anyway, maybe we could discuss it afterwards, and I'll go ahead. Thanks so much, Eric and Tadas and Will, for all the excellent contributions to Superchain as well as to Fractal ecosystem. And I'll go ahead and share what I did to help the Fractal ecosystem now. Okay, cool. So I'm going to share what I did to help to Optimism over the past 2 weeks. I think you guys know me. I'm Dan Singjoy. I did, by the way, update my website. So I made it kind of simpler and more sleek. I put Eden Fractal and Optimism Fractal right at the top of it, right under my work section, and Optimistics and Eden Creators, and Eden Town Hall and Optimism Town Hall, as well as some past shows I've done, and some music stuff, and it's kind of organized with my writing and stuff there now. So that was one thing I did to improve my website, but really put Optimism Fractal and Eden Fractal communities on the Superchain front and forward. And you guys know I do a lot of like hosting events and coordinate on the marketing and website development and stuff like that for fractals, and also fundraising efforts and campaign developments. So I won't go over that stuff too much in general, but I'll focus on some specifics. So for one thing, I wrapped up the Optimism Back to Respect Game Research into Fund Distribution mission that was approved last year by the Optimism Collective Grants Council. So I provided the final deliverable, which is the legal and compliance framework for democratic fund distribution through the Respect Game, in which I went through. I mean, you could see the abstract in the introduction. And in addition to that, I went to the legal entity structures and jurisdictional analysis, identity verification, privacy preservation, fund distribution mechanisms, compliance framework and risk management, participant agreements and governance integration, and implementation roadmap and next steps. So this all being part of the mission to figure out the best ways to distribute funds via Optimism Fractal and the Optimism Fractal Respect Game, or Respect Games in general, on the Superchain via a decentralized and compliant and democratic process with the Respect Game. And so this was the last deliverable. Went into a lot more details about the organizational structure. For example, I looked at a lot at nonprofit structures, and I'm planning to start up a nonprofit to support the Fractal ecosystem on the Superchain soon. So quite a lot of details here. I had to rush a little bit, so it's there's some things I'd like to change, but generally I think it's like a quite useful resource, and it's quite comprehensive as well. And then in addition to that, I also wrapped it up with a kind of like conclusion post too, with reflections on what we've accomplished together and the next steps and so forth. So planning to test this out at Eden Fractal soon, and then bring it to Optimism Fractal after the initial tests. And that also brings me to Eden Fractal Epoch 2, or actually I didn't actually mean to bring this article up. I meant to bring up the new blog article, Eden Fractal or Eden Plus Fractal. I put together this blog article after we decided to revive the Eden Plus Fractal process, as I shared before. So I provided like a introductory overview about what is Eden Plus Fractal, as well as why it matters and the benefits and how you can get involved, being delegate and stuff like that. As well as curated some old videos, like a video I did with Tadas about it, and some Eden Fractal videos, so people can understand. And then I wrote this implementation plan for exploring the best technical ways to implement it, both with a general overview as well as technical requirements and challenges, proposed solutions, update specifications, and so forth. So I talked about the interface to do it and stuff like that. And then I've been going back and forth with Tadas in the comments here about figuring out the best ways to implement it. So thanks a lot to Tadas for that. And I'm excited about the next steps here as we can implement this into an application, and make it easier for people to cooperate with the Eden Plus Fractal process. I also hosted the Eden Fractal episode where we elected a delegate for the first time with Eden Plus Fractal in quite a long time. And I introduced some of these topics, and we discussed them there. So I hosted that episode, as well as put together an agenda for the town hall, which we were kind of just doing at the Fractal event. I participated in the Fractal Impact Concert, and I created a presentation that was like maybe a 10-minute presentation or so. I also kind of helped co-host it too and answered questions from various people who are interested in implementing fractal governance. So I gave like this introduction to fractal governance presentation near the beginning of it, so people could have an understanding of the context of the Fractal Impact Concert, and also just helped Easy and Jose to organize this event, also collaborate with Zaal. And then I put out this post on Paragraph and a bunch of different channels, Optimism channels, Fractal channels about Ethereum ecosystem, Superchain, Fractal ecosystem. Welcome everybody back to the second half of the season, as well as I did somewhat of a similar thing for Eden Fractal as well when we returned from the break, gave some people some updates and invited people to join. I also did a publishing and like a recording of the live stream. There's been a bunch of spammers in the Optimism Fractal channel, so I created this new logistics channel to resolve this, as well as some plans to implement like a community verification system, and I documented all the progress and steps here. And then I also helped Harvesto with his research as well. Shared a bunch of ideas with him, and I've been working with Tadas a lot on some of the plans that he mentioned. A lot of it's related to fractal ecosystem development plans to support the fractal ecosystem with nonprofit organization, as well as thinking ways that businesses can grow in the fractal ecosystem. I did a lot of research into the Ethereum and Optimism ecosystem along the way too. So that's it for me, and thanks everybody for listening. If anybody has any questions or comments for anybody, then feel free to share. We have a little bit of time left to reach consensus too. So I'm wondering if perhaps Tadas, you wanted to create a Fractogram group, and I suppose we can use the Fractogram Telegram app, although we could also try the app that Abraham had built because that's mostly stable, but I know there are some issues with it. So do you have any preference, or does anybody have any preference on that?
You're right. We could use Abraham's app because we don't need to elect delegates here. So
Hmm.
okay,
Yeah.
so maybe we can try using. Uh,
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, remember last time we played with the app,
uh,
I think Easy had an issue because he was on his phone. So there's like some edge cases I think where it doesn't work, but it worked fine for me. And I think it probably works fine for most people. So maybe it's worth trying it and seeing how it goes. So I'll go ahead and log into the app.
Remember to make sure you select the Optimism Fractal organization and profile.
Hmm.
So I will create a group. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, Das.
Created it
Can you
should
share the
be.
link in the chat? It'll help me from having a alt tab through a bunch of different screens right now. Sorry.
No problem. Sure thing, Will. I see Tadas has shared it.
Yep.
Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it.
And I also have a question for Bill. I missed the beginning of your contributions. What was the purpose of that program which you finished?
So the provability of the program was that we have enough Web3 tools that we can do it in a Web3 way in order to run a program of that nature, right? Um, so that's it. And I feel that, the more we put the emphasis on utilization of amazing Web3 tools that we have access to, the more it's going to send a signal to the developers that they're building in the right direction, right? So it's kind of a twofold mission there. Those are, I did share a link to our entire Web3 toolkit of all the Web3 tools that we ran through that entire program. So yeah, the more that we double down on Web3 tooling, the further down the road that's going to get us to be able to build tools with familiarity to bring the people in that are not in Web3 yet. Kind of Eric's point to what the soapbox that he's on a consistent basis, soapbox that I'm on, is we need these tools to be familiar, but also suitable replacements for what people are doing in their daily lives. So that was the point of the program. Outside of monetizing content creators and proving that we had the capability to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Will, for the additional explanation and great work. I see that in the breakout group, me and Tadas are here, so we're waiting for Will and Eric to join.
Yeah, I'm just logging in. I've got an extra security measure on my MetaMask wallet that caused me to reload the web page before I connect to it if it asks for a wallet login. So I'll be there shortly.
Okay, sounds good. Well, you're good to have some security measures. Remember too that you need to go to if you'd recently participated in Eden Fractal and another Fractal, you'll need to go to your profile and set your organization to Optimism Fractal in order to see the correct group. I see Eric is with us here.
And we're in. Okay, cool. Joining now.
Exciting to see all the progress from over the break. All right, so we're all here now, so we can start voting on level 6, which is who you think did the most to help Optimism based on their presentation from over the break. Okay, and we have 2 votes for me and 2 votes for Will. Would anybody like to change the vote or advocate either way for who they think should be level 6?
I was split between Dan and Will anyway. Uh,
Okay. I had voted for myself in this week because I felt like the completion of the Optimism Fractal research project was a pretty big milestone. That's I'm quite proud of the whole project, and I think that the last deliverables were quite good. And then I think Eden Fractal will be doing really big things on base as well with the new Eden Plus Fractal process. So that's why I voted for myself. But I think what Will has been doing is awesome too. So happy to go either way.
We ranked. We're good.
You got it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for the votes and the respect. Okay, and we have Will at level 5.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome, Will. Thank you. All right, and it looks like we have 2 votes for Eric and 2 votes for Tadas. Would anybody like to? Oh, and it looks like somebody changed the vote to Tadas. So we now have consensus for Tadas at level 4 and Eric at level 3, which
Cool.
means that we can now push Onchain.
And this should come up on OP mainnet, and it did.
Okay, I have posted the consensus on chain.
Well, mine said proposal sent successfully.
Sounds good. ORDAO's working as expected. Well, thanks all for the great respect game and the excellent contributions. It's been especially exciting seeing people's contributions over the past month and a half, and great to reconnect. And looking forward to the next Optimism Fractal event in 2 weeks. And I'll try to spread the word out more to reconnect with some people who have joined Optimism Fractal in the past. And over the coming months and weeks, we're going to be ramping up more outreach to different people in the Superchain as well. But yeah, great to see you guys as always, and really appreciate all the contributions. And we don't have a town hall scheduled for today. As I said in the beginning of the episode, about 2 or 3 months ago, we had passed a proposal, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, we passed a proposal that Optimism Town Halls only get triggered if there's 2,000 respect votes in the Optimism Town Hall snapshot space. If a proposal is made for a topic and then it gets 2,000 votes, and there hasn't been any proposals made recently. So, yeah, there's no town hall scheduled, although we can just hang out and have a conversation if we want to, have an extended Optimism Fractal. If anybody would like to discuss anything longer on recording, or if anybody wants to discuss anything off recording, then we can also end the recording whenever we're ready and have a off recording conversation. And then also one thing I'll briefly mention here too is that, or briefly reiterate, is that Optimism Fractal is about to have its 2 year anniversary. It's coming up sometime around October 20th, or October 21st, October 22nd. So that's an exciting milestone coming up for Optimism Fractal. So at some point soon, I think it would be good to make a proposal for Optimism Town Hall and have a discussion about maybe the best ways to celebrate it, at least for the celebration event, and maybe for the next Optimism Fractal event, we'll organize Optimism Town Hall afterwards or something like that. And as always, if anybody has any topics you'd like to discuss at Optimism Town Hall, then feel free to propose a topic there in the Optimism Town Hall snapshot space, as well as instead of Optimism Town Hall, we've been doing a lot of Eden Town Halls. So invite everyone to join, everyone here, of course, as well as anybody who's watching, to the Eden Fractals and Eden Town Hall events where we're having more open conversations as well. Does anybody else have anything you'd like to share here at Optimism Fractal?
I would just like people to take a look at that Simbiosyx link just to start planning in your long term, because I think that methodology that we're working on is actually pretty cool. So how do we pay people to get this stuff done when we need it? Because if you're working on big projects, it's really about what's your next bottleneck and how do I get it out of the way real quickly? Is it programming? Is it research? Is it marketing? And how do you get those people on board? And part of it is I don't know whether those people are any good. That's usually the thing. That how do I find them? If I do, how do I know they're any good? And how do we get them paid? Well, we had an additional dimension if we started thinking of paying in Ethereum or equity and that kind of stuff. Those are big, but the idea of making it easy to get stuff done with all the projects is pretty darn cool idea. And we launched it last week. So
do you think we could find someone to do some work for respect?
well, eventually, right now, I just have to roll this out as a product and bring in funding. So the problem is we're launching too many products too fast. So I'm just scrambling to get this place funded, but the idea is good. One of it is about matching experts. Eventually, I want it to match everything: resources, experts, and funding. But we're just starting with experts. The other thing we're doing is this month is we launched a platform for AI, because the three pieces, compute, data, and algorithms for building your own AI, not using AI, building one, especially the compute, is insanely expensive. So we figured out how to get the price down by doing volume buying. And then within our single account, we've got it approved to be able to break that up into multiple accounts with your own protection and screening behind them. So what that means is you only use AI when you want. You want 4 hours of compute? Sure. Because otherwise CPUs and GPUs are way too expensive. So you pay for only what you use and you pay less. So those are two of the three products in one organization that I have to launch really quickly.
When you said before, Eric, that the problem is that that we're launching too many products. By that, did you
Oh,
mean
I mean us here in Aquillius.
okay?
We had things that all these things were on the mix. But you realize as we launch these things, you're creating communities at the same time, and communities don't necessarily grow at the same rate as product launches.
Hmm.
So synchronizing and getting them in is always this balancing act, and we kind of don't have a choice. We have to accelerate. So that's just my personal problem, which means I'm not focusing on integrating respect and things in there at the moment because I'm just trying to get them out the door and get them funded for various reasons. But I'm just saying the methodology is an interesting topic for maybe a future optimism grant or something.
Hmm. Would it be helpful, Eric, if I pull up the screen? I know you shared us some links, and I'm looking at them right now. If you wanted to talk about any more, then happy to pull up the screen. You can share anything else you'd like to about
Sure.
Simbiosyx or Aquillius. Okay. And also, there's going back to that sweat equity thing I mentioned. That might be something that's interesting to discuss a little bit because I think it's quite an interesting topic. So this is the Aquillius.com
Well,
slash Symbiosyx, and there's
so what
also this.
happens is that companies are always looking for help, and they don't know where to get it. Typically, they meet somebody, hooks up, and then they kind of latch on to them, and they don't know whether the person's really good. They don't know whether the relationship is really good. And then coming up with a legal document between them is really hard. And most people don't have a legal team. They don't even understand that process. And then a lot of times they can't afford them. So then they have to talk about sweat equity, but they don't understand that. So, you've got two sides, actually three sides of the marketplace. One is the companies who I just need somebody, or I have some money, here's what I can afford, or oh, there's free help for me, or I'm willing to give somebody some equity, but I don't know how to do that and it's too hard. And if I do get this person, how do I know they're any good? How do I know they are who they say they are and they can do what they want to do? From the expert, we get experts uh, living, um, we get experts living um, here trying to say, oh, give me a company to work for. I want to help. How do I get it? And there's not a really good way for them to find companies other than hunting them down and trying, do you need me? How about this? Let me talk you into it. And then they don't know where that company's any good. And if they do help them, especially sweat equity, the company goes out of business. And then it's, oh my God, now I lost all that time I put in with this company. So from the developer side, we have companies invest in an equity or liquidity pool. So you have all the companies who need experts putting basically in equity. And then you have all the experts. So for every credit, every hour, let's say, of expert time you put in, you're putting into that pool. So you have the total number of equity versus the total amount of expert hours, and you divide those and you get equity per expert hour. Then you just add up, multiply the number of expert hours you have, and that's what you get. And then as that becomes available, that automatically gets paid out. If there's a funding, like they raise it or they have an exit, that automatically gets paid to everybody. So all those terms and guaranteeing people get paid, and it still is if the company you are helping goes out of business, it doesn't matter because you're paying into the overall pool. And then the platform manages the legal, the accounting, the equity and portfolio management, all that kind of stuff. So those are the three pieces.
Very interesting. Thank you, Eric. And
But it's just a good analysis of the problem and getting that we all face, either as an expert or a company, getting it all together.
Did you want to share more? So this is something that you and so you work with the team at Aquillius, right?
Mhm.
And so this is something that you and other team members decided to launch as sort of a new initiative or new product that
Yep.
comes out of okay. And
Yeah. So I wanted some products that were not geographically linked. Like we have 25,000 feet of space here with stuff in it, manufacturing down the road, and manufacturing agreements across the border. And so there's a lot of capability in this space, but a lot of it is you have to come to the space. And so we came up with three products that we could launch that weren't geographically based. Simbiosyx is one of them. Um, and so we just came out with the prototype, which people can sign up for now. And we started, it's almost a reverse pitch, where instead of experts saying hire me, your company saying here's what I need. And so we're doing those regular pitches.
interesting. I have a I have a lot of thoughts and questions I could share. I don't know, Tadas, if you want to share anything. I see you're unmuted. Um, I suppose one thing that comes to mind, I think you mentioned that you haven't had much time, Eric, to think about how respect can play a role in this yet, or maybe
Yeah, it's more
you're thinking
like
of the background, but
we got a prototype. Let's get this working first. Let's make sure it works. No one's
mhm.
no one's done this before, so let's figure out how to get this working. Then let's figure out how to potentially extend that into other areas and other payments and other tracking.
Hmm. Well, one thing I'll mention right now that is coming to my mind is this. So one, it's a very interesting idea. Thank you very much, Eric, for sharing. I'm looking forward to learning more and probably re-listening to this and reading through it again. And then one thing that I think that perhaps maybe there could be a big synergy with respect and respect games is over here you have in this web in how you can shape in the success or the share in the success you help create with the sweat equity program. And every hour that you contribute, which I think is the experts contribute, so every hour that an expert contributes earns points towards equity in the startups you support. Symbiosis pools and distributes equity upon exits, so you can gain real upside from your contributions. So to me, this seems kind of like this could be possibly enhanced with the respect game. And I mean, I totally understand if you want to, keep it simple and this is and maybe works better with this model right now where every hour you contribute earns points. But it's like, to me, it seems like this seems quite similar to the ideas that I've been discussing with Tadas. And I don't know, Tadas, how much you want to share about the ideas you've had so far, or if you want to share it all, or maybe keep them more private until they're more ready to share. But yeah, I suppose just generally speaking, Toss and I have been brainstorming about how somebody could earn, okay, so somebody can come to Optimism Fractal, Eden Fractal, other fractal communities and earn respect, and then use that respect to be able to potentially burn like a token. We're still figuring out the exact dynamics of it. It's something similar to what we discussed in the 61st Eden Fractal event when we talked about growing communities. And also wrote an article about fungibility and non-fungibility, and there's all sorts of ideas there. But basically, like the idea that we're thinking about is that if you can earn respect, and the respect, yes, it's a non-transferable reputation token, but at the same time, that can allow you some sort of credits or some sort of way to also be able to like pay for services within the community as well. And we're just kind of exploring these ideas, but to me, it seems like there's potential too, where something like this Aquillius sweat equity program could also have it where it's not just every hour you contribute earns you points, but it's every time you come to say a respect game, you earn points, but more people earn more points if they get higher rankings from their peers. And then using that, then you can combine that with this equity sharing program where like maybe companies that are in early stages before say fundraising or before say a larger round of fundraising, they can hold or I suppose either hold or be associated with these respect games where people contribute to the startups, and then those experts or whatever, it doesn't necessarily need to be an expert, I suppose, although maybe experts is who you're focusing on here. Those experts or other contributors can earn points towards the equity and the equity pool so that they can gain the equity upon exits and gain real upside from their contributions. But it's not just every hour, and it's not just every expert's hour is counted equally, but it allows it to be a more flexible and dynamic system where people can contribute and rank each other's contributions, and then those people can get equity in the startup, which would be very interesting to kind of model this kind of uh, respect game process in a way that people can earn equity in companies. That's a fascinating idea that I hadn't really explored yet, or maybe I explored a little bit, but I haven't really, really digested how it could act. So yeah, curious to think what you think about that, Eric or Tadas, if you want to share any ideas about how it might or might not relate to your ideas, or if you want to share anything else with that. Also want to welcome Leo, Civil Monkey too. Thanks for joining. Leo does a lot of great work in public goods in the Ethereum space too. So always a pleasure to see you here and hope you're doing well.
Oh, Leo, what's up?
I see Leo on the camera and Will's joining too. Good to see you. Feel free to unmute if you want, Leo. We're having kind of a casual conversation. We wrapped up the
Oh,
Optimism
damn.
Respect game recently,
Sorry.
and we're just kind of
Sorry, I
talking.
was speaking on mute. Yeah, hello, hello.
Hey,
Good to be here. What's up? What's up?
good to see you. Yeah, we were just we were exploring the Aquillius project or Aquillius team, that organization that Eric has been working on, and Eric came out with a new product with this team called Symbiosyx, which is what we were just sharing and discussing here. So as I was saying, we had played the respect game and then wrapped it up, and we sometimes do Optimum Town Halls afterward, but we didn't have an Optimum Town Hall scheduled, so we kind of just had an informal discussion where Eric was sharing with us this Symbiosyx, which you can check out if you're interested at aquillius.com/symbiosyx, or there's also a website for this new product that he just launched where it basically connects startups with verified experts. And a very basic overview of it is that like it connects experts who contribute to startups with startups who can give it equity and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a very interesting idea. Feel free. I probably didn't give a great overview of that, Eric, but I just wanted to give like a really quick overview to Leo for where we're at in the conversation. We actually just also returned from our summer break too, so we're back to having Optimism Fractal events every other week now, and Eden Fractal events every other week too. So at some point we can wrap up the conversation, but so far we've just been having just kind of an informal discussion, talking about Eric's new project and new products here at Symbiosyx and Aquillius. And as you joined, Leo, I was just kind of comparing it to the respect game and some things I've been exploring with the DOS. So yeah, if Eric, you want to share any more about that or respond to my thoughts, or perhaps Leo, if you'd like to share any of your updates, we'd be happy to hear from you, or to DOS or Will. Any point we can wrap it up to, but just kind of open floor, open discussion right now for anybody who'd like to share any thoughts or.
It's just the idea that this problem exists everywhere. And as I was thinking about this last week, it was like, since we launched it, is, well, wait a minute. Since it exists in optimism and all the other things, how do we solve that problem here? So I'm using this thought process we went to say, here's some pain points and caveats that we developed, and here's how we're addressing them here. I don't know whether this could be extended or something else could be created to help people in our ecosystem get stuff done easier and affordably sometimes, because sometimes you can't afford stuff. Sometimes you can. So how do you get that stuff actually done?
Yep, great point, Eric. And thanks again for sharing. It reminds me, maybe I'll share one more thing that it reminds me of here. Um, so a couple months ago, I wrapped up a project. I suppose first we'll start off. I think most people here know about ORDAO. This is the smart contract infrastructure and app that Tadas has been building for a while, that we've been using to as the executive branch, and the app for respect game submissions and respect distributions and so forth. And then uh, yeah, there's that video where we provide an overview of it at optimistic.io/ORDAO. And then a couple months ago, I collaborated with Tadas and Jacob and Howard, and Jacob led the development of the Superchain ORDAO app. And I talked a lot with Tadas about, I had to make a presentation at the end of the program for venture capitalists and other people in the optimism ecosystem that like kind of and we're trying to distill what the goal of it was, and it was only a 4 minute presentation, so we had to be really, careful and strategic about it. And I had a long discussion with Tadas about like what the kind of main value proposition that we want to convey about ORDAO or Superchain ORDAO, which is the Superchain compatible version of ORDAO that um, Jacob had led the development of during this program. But it really applies for ORDAO and it really applies for respect games as well. So, and what me and Das came up with was scaling capital allocation through fractal coordination. Well, I suppose that's kind of my distillation of what me and Das came up with. But we had a conversation for like 3 hours about like what is the main value proposition of ORDAO and fractals, and we talked about this, like basically capital allocation. There's lots of different ways that you can look at it, and there's just so many different value propositions that's it's sometimes difficult to organize. But we were like, hey, if we have to pick one, then what would we pick? And what we picked is how capital allocation fails to scale. I have a little slide here about how that makes it so evaluation systems become inefficient as opportunities grow. Small groups create bottlenecks and potential corruption. Limited scope means missing valuable contributions. Communities are disconnected from allocation decisions. Platform risk increases with a proper coordination, which manifests in reduced incentives, less community growth, and missed value creations. Where like basically, on one hand, you have funders like maybe like your equity, who or like say companies who have a lot of information, but they don't know what to do with that. And then there's other people like experts who can do great work, but it's not recognized. Or I suppose vice versa. I'm trying to apply this to Eric's situation. But basically, what I'm trying to convey here is I see this commonality where capital allocation, like you said, Eric, it's true in optimism, it's true in companies, it's true in venture capitalists places, like it's true all around the world. Basically, it's true in national governments that basically it's difficult to allocate capital, and equity is a kind of capital, and time that experts contribute is kind of capital as well. And so we talked about how the solution can be fractal coordination with community-driven value recognition. And Tadas was like very kind of intrigued with its idea of value recognition, and I agree with that intrigue. And that's something that basically it's like you can recognize that value, similar to how I was kind of pointing at this section over here, about how every hour you contribute earns points towards equity in the startups you support. But one difficulty I see with that, like I think it could work very well on that model, but I think one way that could potentially be improved is where it's not just because one person could contribute an hour and like kind of like, eat an apple for 50 minutes and then work really hard for 10 minutes, whereas one person could work like really hard for the whole time and come up with a lot more basically. So it's like, how do you evaluate that hour that they contribute to be as efficient as possible in that market of equity and expert contributions or expert talent? And this community-driven value recognition where the communities at respect game events can recognize that value and determine and evaluate that value, determine, okay, well, that's how valuable that was, and maybe that's how much equity that's worth, that's how much funding that's worth, and so forth. And so I talked about how community events incentivize and reward builders or experts or contributors, decentralized evaluation through peer assessment in small groups, credibly neutral token distribution, democratic coordination via transparent on-chain reputation, and collective wisdom for better capital allocation. So it's a way to transform your community into a value discovery engine. So yeah, there's more to this presentation that gets into like the specifics of how this works and the foundations of ORDAO and how it combines fractal democracy with respect games, with respect tokens, and the actual applications and stuff like that. But and I also included ORDAO makes community-driven capital allocation fair, fast, and fun, which is a phrase that Eric came up with, fair, fast, and fun, when we were discussing Eden Fractal's mission and vision. So like yeah, I think that's quite it's quite interesting, and some interesting analogies and parallels that we can, like the equity market is huge. There's companies that need the same kind of service of value recognition and like to bridge that market between contributors and equity holders, and the respect game and fractal governance can provide that community-driven value recognition. I see Tadas wrote something. Tadas wrote, or determine reputation of experts, which in turn could help determine the value of their hours. That's correct too. Yeah, you could have it where if one person has a lot of respect from Optimism Fractal, and you need somebody who's knowledgeable in Optimism Fractal or knowledgeable in optimism, then that person's hours might be worth more. Just as a basic example, I had also written more about this too in the research document that I did too, about how people could even use their respect I'm trying to open up a new browser tab, but for some reason, I think I did like a weird keyboard shortcut, and now everything's frozen. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. I messed up something. But yeah, I was gonna just maybe share one more thing while I'm inspired here. Feel free if anyone wants to jump in. But one of the things I was gonna share is how in this research document, one of the things I published was about man, there's so much here, it's kind of difficult to see it. Yeah, it was a section about the role-based reputation system, and I had a section about like multi-dimensional role systems where people could even use their respect to vote for like how technically smart is this person, like how good are they at smart contracts, or how good are they at community engagement, and you can even have like stats and like scores for that kind of thing too. So that's a way that you can like use respect as a way to vote for people's kinds of characteristics, and those characteristics might be used as different kind of thresholds for payment levels or different kind of multipliers for payment levels, as Tadas kind of suggested, or he didn't suggest that directly, but he kind of shared something along those lines about how you could pay more for experts depending on how good they are. But rather than just like trusting, oh, this guy has something good in their resume, you could actually get like this credibly neutral score about how good they are in this thing, um, based on their votes with respect scores and stuff like that.
Yeah, we really haven't coming into the system, we do background checks on the experts just to say they are who they say they are. They've done what they say they've done, but we do not. We're still wrestling with that. How do they get rated? How do companies and experts get rated as the process goes? So we're struggling with that. So that's why I thought of this organization.
Hmm.
Yeah, and actually, I think that like what you mentioned, like how it develops over time is an interesting aspect. Like you can have a certain like reputation based on respect, but you can also, as you mentioned, Dan, like you could also make it like correlate to certain actions, and then maybe there's a certain time threshold. Like, so how, Dan, how do you think about like basically auto expiring statuses or like aspects? Should there be, are there, or is it like static, or like how does a respect score, something like that, like decrease, or does it like decrease with time if nothing else happens? Or like, yeah, how do you think about the time aspect?
Yeah, thanks for sharing your perspective, Leo, as well as the question. So, mm, currently, I suppose we have one way in effect and implementation that respect decreases in time, and then there's also like this kind of open canvas of how we can design this and how we want to design this. So, generally, I think it makes sense for the respect or the amount that respect is counted in a lot of cases to like decrease over time. Say if there's a lot more contributors, like say if a community is like 2 years old, and then and then say another 2 years goes by, so it's 4 years old, and then say if some of those contributors who contribute a lot in the first 2 years contribute a lot, but then they kind of stop contributing as much, but then people came later, and they were actively contributing currently, then it might make sense for there to be kind of like a decrease or reduction in the amount that the community values that earlier respect because it's older and like maybe those people aren't paying attention as much. This is also just an opinion. Like I think it really depends on the situation on what the community wants to design. But I think going to your question about like kind of like how a respect could like basically decrease in score over time or or I suppose decrease in importance over time. There could be something like a trying to think of the word right now when you have a like a curve that you have like a token distribution curve, and then like it degrades over time, or like a half-life. It's like a half-life. Kind of like how chemicals or like atoms and physical things can degrade over time. There's a half-life, and maybe you have an atom that degrades, like it, it becomes half as powerful after 10 years or something like that. And then after 20 years, it'd only be 25% as powerful, just as an example. So I think there's an opportunity to implement that kind of thing, like some sort of half-life and how much a respect score is counted. I believe there was also ideas published about that in the Genesis Fractal paper as well when they had written papers for Genesis Fractal. And then the other thing I was going to mention too is that Tadas has written an article as well as the thing that we actually kind of implemented is that um, right now, basically we implement a new ORDAO account, which is a new account with a new kind of like distribution of respect scores for each cycle. And right now we haven't thoroughly defined how long that cycle should be, but basically after 4 seasons at Optimism Fractal, we launched a new ORDAO account and so like basically all the respect from seasons 1 through 4 is all on one account, and the respect from seasons 5 and 6 is on another account. And maybe in the future we'll have it where like there's a new ORDAO count for each season, and then maybe you count, the most recent season's respect to more than the old season's respect or something like that. But those are all things that so far we've kind of just kept simple, and these are mostly ideas that are in practice. But we do have it where right now in proposals, the amount of respect for seasons 5 and 6 is worth the same exact amount of respect and voting power as seasons 1 through 4. But that's something that, potentially via proposal we could change if we want to make it so that newer respect is worth more or something like that. Um, does that answer your question, Leo?
Yeah, totally, totally. Thank you so much. And also exactly to your point, like there might be different situations where it might be valued differently. So it totally makes sense that like you can see this respect comes from the season, and like if there's a situation that specifically is supposed to value season 3 over season 5 or the other way around, you could at least attribute when it came. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, you have to do that with equity too, because the equity is for a specific period of time. So that has to move forward. Like you can't contribute toward equity in a month before they have an exit. Say, oh, I'm in. And it's like, well, equity. There's different phases of equity when you do companies that mature.
Yep, good points. And yeah, it might be helpful in some cases like that to reward people who are early contributors more than later contributors.
Yeah, because the value of equity changes over time.
hmm
People that get in, the equity is worth more than people who get in after it's been proven and oh yeah, this is a huge success. And
hmm
equity gets cheaper as your product gets and performance gets better.
Right. So, yeah, these are all things that I suppose could be tweaked by different communities or different organizations depending on what they find most valuable. Um, like generally speaking, it is kind of like an open canvas where people might want to apply the respect scores and the importance of those in different ways by different communities. There's also different platforms, like for example, Snapshot has a feature for custom voting strategies. So I don't think it'd be that difficult to do some research into setting different voting strategies. So for example, if you wanted to set a different voting weight for one season compared to another season, then it would take a little bit of development work. Hopefully in the future, it'll just be like a kind of a just all on an app where you can use the user interface and you can easily click and set the percentages for each one. And that's something that would be great to build at some point. But for now, that's where it's at, where I could just take some development work to set those things up, I suppose, for each community organization. All right, looks like Eric's getting a little tired here. Um, is there anything else we want to discuss? We're a half hour past the regular scheduled time for Optimism Fractal, and we've had a great extended discussion here about respect and equity and capital allocation and
Or getting paid like in Ethereum too. Say, oh yeah, I have some money. It's cheaper for me to pay you now if I can. So, I'll get Rosemary to do some media for me, and here's the money, and let's just do it. So that has to be part of it too. It's not just equity. It's what can we do right now, and what can I afford? If I can't afford to pay it now, then the only way is to get a loan, to get funding, or equity. So,
hmm Well, yeah, I suppose if there's a company, then in order to attract contributors mm, to contribute to its mission or help build its products or whatever, it can provide equity. can also provide money if it has money or other assets that it can give. It can also provide access to its services or products for free. That's another thing it potentially provide if people find that valuable if they want to use the product or service. So it can offer these things, and then I suppose all those things. I don't know if you're just focusing on the equity aspect or also the payment aspect or any
No,
other
we're
aspects.
doing all three. We're doing
Okay.
three. The three is Dan has let's say he makes up the Optimus Foundation and they provide support to that. Well, that'd be a free service I could get, just like the Small Business Administration has free stuff. So if it exists, I'd like to get that. If it doesn't exist, I'd like to find the best value of expert for payment if I have it. And if I don't have the money for that, then how do I get somebody to work on equity? So it's all three. Here's people that'll do something, people and organizations that'll do something for free or something for this rate, but I want to find the best. How do I know that I need Tadas versus another expert? And, can I afford the rate to get that? So what's the best value for me in terms of how much I pay versus what I get? And then if I can't afford to DOS, maybe he'll work for equity for future benefit, which is like a loan, but a loan of his time. If he loans it now, he'll get paid more in the future than he would now. But we're reducing risk for Tadas because it's equity spread over multiple companies, not just the one.
Mm-hmm. Um, Three ways I could see this, seeing fractals and respect games helping this is that like you could distribute the respect and any sort of say equity or other kinds of payment in accordance to the amount of respect that they earn or in proportion to that. You could also have a consensus process from the community that maybe helps determine that some other consensus process, and then also just like I suppose the networking opportunities that provides too can maybe help say you as a business owner or somebody else's business owner to connect with like the developers and get to know them better, see them on video if it's recorded, or just get to know them. So both the respect scores and the consensus processes derived from the respect scores, and also the networking opportunities can all help make that market more efficient. I suppose one thing I'm curious about is Eric, like I'm curious about what your plans are because I know for a while you've been working on the dissertation with the research about how fractal governance can improve volunteer motivation and motivation I suppose output from volunteers and then you have a bunch of different projects that you work on, so I'm just trying to get a better understanding of
Well,
how these connect and
the overall project is how do I ensure that nonprofits can sustainably and resiliently continue to deliver and grow their services in all environments. That's the goal. In order to do that, it's really based on three things: people, strategy, and technology and tools. So I'm working on the people part, my partner's working on the strategy part, and we have a third working on the technology and tools, and we're all putting this together. So how does that fit Aquillius? Well, we started a nonprofit for Aquillius. Hopefully, that's going to be my prototype platform. That's going to be where I integrate and test these things out and use that to then as an example to spread to other organizations. So that kind of becomes my home test organization if it works out. But in the meanwhile, I got to keep Aquillius growing running that organization, isn't there? And of course, that's how I pay my bills while I'm a starving student where money goes out instead of in.
okay, so let me see if I understand this correctly. So Aquillius is a nonprofit organization.
Part of it is, yeah, the
Okay.
Aquillius Institute is a nonprofit organization, which
Okay.
works with Aquillius Ventures, which does the funding part, and Aquillius Corporations, which does physical and digital resources.
Okay. Interesting. I see it's also an interesting discussion, but I have to go.
So
So,
that's the goal of Aquillius. The goal of Aquillius is to accelerate business by being that place that connects physical and digital resources, people, and money, capital. That's the goal. And in order to do that, there's a nonprofit part which focuses on community and expertise. That's the Aquillius Institute. Aquillius Corporation focuses on physical and digital resource, and Aquillius Ventures focuses on money. And Aquillius Institute is that thing which helps coordinate all those together along with people.
are all these
So
entities?
all these what?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was going to ask, are all these entities represented at
Yeah.
Aquillius.com?
Oh no, they're entities. Aquillius Corporation is a legal entity, and so is Aquillius Ventures. It's a legal entity, and Aquillius Institute is a 501c3, and they all live here at the same place. Like you can see them when you look at the Aquillius page, the Symbiosis page went right at the top.
Yeah.
When you look at the Simbiosyx, you can see that all those logos are across the top, or maybe it was the Simbiosyx AI part. Symbiosyx.ai. If you look at one of those, you can see at the top of one of those, I know there's all the logos
Okay.
along with the Symbiosis logo because that's a product logo. But
And
if you notice, the Symbiosis logo also borrows from the Aquillius logo, which means water and roots and people, by the way, unless that's what's hidden in that little
okay, yeah,
logo.
I see. With the drops, interesting.
The drops are water, but if you notice, they're shaped in the form of a person, and those other things are roots, which happens if you water roots, they grow. And actually, if you look in the Aquillius part, the Q is an on button.
I see that. Interesting little discoveries here.
So
Turn it
what
on.
I've done is help with the other pieces, but specifically help with the nonprofit piece, which is what helps integrate all the pieces together.
So you can learn about the nonprofit, the institute, and the ventures, the corporation, all on Aquillius.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
But
Is there different websites or?
we just got the nonprofit officially approved a couple months ago.
Okay.
So that one's a little behind. So Aquillius Corporation has been there for over 3 years. Aquillius Ventures popped up last year, and Aquillius Institute became an entity this year.
Okay.
Before that, the pre-organization for that was Aquillius Seed, which was kind of a STEM program. So we grew that and created Aquillius Institute.
Okay. And you mentioned how your overall goal is to is focused on nonprofits. And I'm curious, so Symbiosyx is focused on connecting experts and startups have equity, and startups aren't nonprofits. So I mean, I guess you could have a nonprofit startup, but I think by
But
definition, there's no
Startup
equity.
San Diego is a nonprofit,
Hmm
and the purpose of Startup San Diego is to help startups. So it's a nonprofit that helps profit and social causes, startups, things like that, anybody. So Aquillius Institute is the same idea, is it's a nonprofit that helps organizations, nonprofit or not, grow.
hmm
And Symbiosyx is just the tool we have for helping connect those. Our mission is to connect those people with whatever they need to remove their next most important bottleneck. So it's that place where resources, people, and experts and capital connect to remove your next bottleneck. And Simbiosyx is a tool for removing the bottlenecks that have to do with people. Eventually, I hope we can grow that to connect with whatever bottleneck you have, whether it's people or not.
Mm-hmm.
But we just launched that. We wrote it, we launched it. So we're just building things one piece at a time. But that's the overall vision.
Okay. If I may ask more questions, Eric, I'm curious. One, I'm curious because I remember you first mentioned Aquillius like maybe 6 months ago or so. I remember looking into it, and I'm still wrapping my head around all the different things that go on. Like for example, I wasn't aware of the different entities that are involved. I'm curious, what is like I suppose what's your next steps and next and plans for Symbiosis and in general? So you also have the dissertation coming up, or that you've been working on, and the volunteer testing that you had collaborated with Abraham on to improve the app
Right.
so you can test it. And I know you've also been working with iValue Global for some time too. I don't know if there's any affiliation between iValue Global. So I'm not sure exactly what your role is within these different teams or organization.
Well, iValue Global's job is to integrate research with products and organizations. So the research that iValue Global that we've been doing is all about the basically it's government, industry, anybody. It's about it's about making them sustainable and resilient. But we've been focusing first on nonprofits. What we're doing would work with anybody, government organizations, but we're just folks starting with nonprofit. And that web page isn't up to date because it's not integrating, but the stuff in there is right.
Okay.
So I'm the chief strategy officer for iValue Global too, but really all we do is make sure that the stuff the university's working actually has real impacts and that kind of stuff. So the project iValue Global is working on now, well, there's two of them. One of them is housing. So one of my partners, he works on housing every day, affordable housing. That's his thing. And then two of the other members are working on the nonprofit thing with me, but we're doing different pieces. I'm working on the people piece, which is a very fractal piece. Somebody else is working on integrated the strategy piece and integrating that with technology. So the purpose of iValue Global is to form an organization that does this this nonprofit stuff, because that's what we do. We either form products or maybe we'll write a book, but the purpose is to create an organization. I don't know what we'll call it. It might be iValue Global, might be Epic Footprints, but we'll form that organization that's going to go after, and that's probably where I'll stick within iValue Global. It works is continuing to build out this nonprofit stuff, integrating that with the Aquillius Institute. And then someday, if this works, we may open the second market to government and then industry. Because it's the same idea. Anything we're doing works. I mean, even Simbiosyx is an industry product, but it could work for anybody. But we're just taking it right now with companies.
Mm-hmm.
But the key is just how you roll out this stuff in ways that people can digest. Because that's really hard to get acceptance. You know,
Like,
when they first came out with popsicles, nobody would eat them.
I can
When they
imagine.
came out with all beef pot hot dogs, nobody would eat them. When they came up with um,
Toothpaste.
half the equipment and machines and advances, people go, yeah, you know, when all this work to create this, people would, unless the pain point is so obvious, there's just tons of products that, I mean, why did it take 200 years to figure out how to brew a cup of coffee at home? I mean, you think we would have figured that out the first first decade that Americans started drinking coffee. Nope, 200 years later, out comes Mr. Coffee.
Hmm. Yeah, I've studied a lot of stories about products that are now used every day or very often that took a long time getting
But
off the
they all are. I
ground.
mean, somebody goes and they go through this pain. They focus their whole life on delivering this thing. They finally figured it out, and then nothing happens. It just we see it over and over, unless it just hits the right thing or it's the right thing. It's really hard to get adoption. So a lot of my work is having done the hard way, where we come up with great stuff and we try and get people to accept it, and they just push back and they don't want to change. And especially in government or large corporations, they're like, oh no, we've always done it this way. Let's just keep doing it. Oh, that sounds evil. We don't want to take the time to understand it. So a lot of the way we're doing things here is based on how can I get a significant group of people to use it, but still have pathways where when Tadas or you come up with the next thing, we can slide that in too. And they just go, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, now that you mention it, that sounds good too. Oh, now that you mention it, this would be great. Because if we come up with a whole new system and then go out and try and teach people this system and get adoption, it's possible, but it takes a lot of marketing and a lot of work.
Yep, I agree. Well, thank you, Eric, for your work and helping to bring all these different kinds of solutions and benefits to different communities and help nonprofits and governments and startups to organize better, and especially for your work and contributions over the past
But
years now for
it's really about minimizing dysfunction and group decision making. And Symbiosyx does that.
Mhm.
Eden Fractal does that. So it's like, how do we package that up and how do we get acceptance of these things and how do we add layers to it to make it more powerful? And, hopefully that has this income stream that we can then donate back into making it better. For example, if Symbiosis develops an income stream, then we can say, okay, well, how can we get the next version? Who can we get? How can we add a better way of evaluating experts or companies?
Hmm.
But it's tough to do that without, a seed of something. So, I want to get the thing I'm out very quickly. So within a year, it's bringing in funding and then I can fund the next layer. So I'm already looking at what are the 5 layers to build to get to this point about building culture and minimizing dysfunction. And what do you do with it? Well, then you get decisions on strategy and execution and operations. So I'm working on the people part. My partner's working on the strategy part, and then another guy's working on the structure and operations part. When you looked at iValue Global, you saw that little thing that said people, strategy, structure, operations in that order.
All right. Well said, Eric. And I'm with you.
So
I
our job is to get the people right and get them to come up with a strategy and then make decisions about structure and operations. But then somebody needs to help them capture the strategy and help them do the structure and operations. So we've divided up the workload. And if the other guys fail, I don't care. If all I do is get a heads up on the people thing, that's a significant contribution. If Aquillius, Institute isn't the one, that's okay. None of that is critical path. It's just that passion to get to that place that we all want to go to, where decision making is, fast, effective, and fun. People enjoy it. Because I hear pain every day from organizations where people aren't heard and things don't get done. And it's like so much of our working life is based on, people getting offended and getting in a project and they don't care whether it's the best product. That's their thing and they're invested in it. I saw that in the government a lot, where somebody gets started with a project and an industry would overtake them because they were so slow and then they wouldn't give it up. No, I want this, even though it's now a piece of crap. Hold on to it. Let's keep funding. Let's keep it alive, even though it's preventing sometimes people from doing their job.
Here, here. Well, I agree. And I saw Will also gave some applause too. So that's our challenge here at in the Fractal ecosystem here at Optimism Fractal. We're working to help optimize governance on the Superchain. That's one of the parts of our mission, as well as fostering collaboration and rewarding public goods creators. And it's also very related to Eden Fractal's vision and mission that we had come up with together back, I guess that was a couple of years ago now, about giving all organizations and tools them, or no, rather giving all communities organizations the tools and methods needed to optimize collective decision making to make the best decision making possible, and to do so by implementing fractal decision making processes to society.
And then we involve optimism, where there's a path to get them funded and executed and infrastructure to make that happen.
Yep. The Optimism Collective is distributing grants to people who are using the OP stack and who are building on the OP stack, and the more uh, the more users come to Optimism, the more that the Optimism Collective will fund the people who build the applications or the services or the tools that, or I suppose not just the people who build, but also the teams and organizations who build those products that people use. The Optimism Collective will fund that through retro funding as well as forward-looking
And
missions.
hopefully, as we build this group of nonprofits that are all excited about using this fractal stuff, even if they don't understand it in the beginning, if we can say, by the way, we can help get you that funding part too. And you're like, oh, wow. Yeah, I want that.
Yep.
And at that part, we have a reason to say, you're adding this blockchain stuff. Hopefully do it as, unobtrusively as possible, but now they have a reason to do that. You mean if I do this, I get funded? Yes. Yeah, I don't care about the blockchain. I don't care about the super chain, but I do care about funding. I like that. So we're starting saying, if you get your people online, your funding and services will go up. And then what's the next thing we can do with them? Oh, here's a path to funding. Well, yeah, integrate that in there. I want that. Bring it in. So now we have a path to plug this into. And so that's why Abraham's tool doesn't need that to start, but it is right there when you want to plug that stuff in, so that I can do that at the higher layers.
Yep. So you can bring it on chain, and then people can benefit both from funding opportunities from Optimism, from the Optimism Collective and the Ethereum ecosystem and so forth, and also benefit from the tools, even if they don't care or even realize that it's built on a blockchain. It opens up a lot of opportunities for them to organize their operations and bring in more funding in different ways as well. So you can create a win-win-win between the nonprofits or the organizations, the team that builds that, and the Optimism Collective and the Ethereum ecosystem. So everybody wins, everybody gets on chain, everybody enjoys better decision making, and the world as a whole progresses, humanity progresses. So that's
Well,
the path we're on.
while we start with nonprofits because it's community, well, hopefully that gets into community. and then gets into business and gets into governance and works its way up to make the world better.
Yep. In a fractal pattern, you might say,
But my
alongside Eden
job is
Fractal's
to
mission.
get them to accept fractal without knowing what it is. Just say I want it, and then to take what you're doing and get them to say, "Ooh, I want blockchain too."
Hmm.
But nobody wants blockchain. They want what it can deliver. So the reason optimism is cool to say, we like to connect you with funding. And no one's going to say, no, I don't want funding. We just need to make it so clear and easy that it seems like, oh yeah, I'm willing to do that to get this great funding.
Hmm. All
So does
right.
that help out all these pieces? It
Yes.
seems like it's all over, but it's really, here's the thing to do, here's our path to go there. If the others don't work, well, it's still a path to get better and better and better and improve the world. But there's ways for this stuff to fit together in in an integrated path that all of it can keep being improved. And of that, I just would like to see a way to have something growing so we can pump more time and effort on bringing both the funding and community building to this group.
Hmm. We share the same desires, and I'm working towards the same things too, from a different angle too, as you know. So I think there's lots of opportunities for us to collaborate in our efforts, as well as I think we're on our way towards that kind of more sustainable funding sources for people who participate in communities like Optimism Fractal and Eden Fractal, as well as um, those who implement fractal decision-making processes and governance and apps and so forth. So there's lots to see, and as we go ahead,
And
the rest of Optimism Fractal season 6.
and I think you brought up a point there hidden in what you're saying, and it's making two methodologies work at the same time together. One is let's find problems in search of a solution, and let's find a solution in search of a problem. Because exploring solutions is cool. It's basic research, it's going that. But the other thing, and here's a problem, search of a solution. What we're trying to do is make these two things merge. And I'm looking for points where they can merge.
I agree. Well, I am too. I'm curious too if Will and Leo, if you have any thoughts you want to share. Thanks so much, Eric, for sharing all that you're doing, as well as the perspective behind it, and the um, as well as all the work you've done. I think I've mentioned that, but thanks so much for all of this. It's been a huge pleasure collaborating with you over the past few years now, and I look forward to both our next steps and what I imagine we'll accomplish with bringing these things all together over the coming months and years. So I'm very excited about it. We probably should wrap it up pretty soon because we've been on the call for just about 2 hours now. As we discussed prior, we didn't do an Optimism Town Hall today, but we did basically an extended Optimism Fractal event. I guess we'll just publish it as one big video. We could publish as Optimism Town Hall, but probably could have just published as one big video. But yeah, we have been here for 2 hours, so I don't want to keep everybody for too long. We could always discuss things more. Of course, Eric, if there's anything else you want to share before we wrap up, then feel free. We can
Oh,
also.
I have to go too.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I have to go as well.
Okay, should we wrap it up now, or do you have any last thoughts,
Yeah.
Leo?
Yeah, thank you everyone. This was yeah, always good to hear from like what's going on. I actually like during a part of the conversation I pinged in a friend who was able to join for a few minutes, Ruskar, and one of the sorry, and I told him because he's working on something that I think is like somewhat related as well. And so he was asking the respect game, is there like a play? He was asking, is there a place where the rules are determined? And I mean, I don't know if that's the framing that you think of as, but what's the best like? Is there a website for the respect game, or like is there an intro page for like understanding the game?
Yes. So I'll share a link here in the chat to you. And Zoom chat, I guess. I can also do it in Telegram if you prefer. Um, and thank you also for inviting Ruskar as well. I was going to welcome him. I don't believe I ever met Ruskar, and I appreciate you inviting him as well as him joining. We were just in the middle of the conversation, so we didn't get a chance to to invite him. But I hope he enjoyed it, and I appreciate his interest too. So probably the best place to learn about the respect game is at optimistics.io/respect game. Maybe I'll pull up my screen too. Maybe I'll do in a little while. So I just shared optimistics.io/respect game. This is a general article about the respect game, about it starts off with why play the respect game, who can benefit, what are the benefits, and then there's a section below that has how to play the respect game with a overview of the rules. And then one other link that I'll share here too is the Optimism Fractal details page or intents page has a more specific specifications. It's also on GitHub too, but we have it here. And this shows the like more precise rules that we play with at Optimism Fractal. So both of those resources can be helpful depending on like I suppose what Bruce Carr is looking for. The one on the optimistic side is more of a general overview, and um, they both explain how it works. But then the optimismfractal.com/details page has a very has the specifications, basically the exact game rules.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Very
All
cool.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, because like the recognizing uh others in different ways is something that he's been thinking about as well. And so yeah, very cool. Yeah, and he also yeah he's also kind of busy right now. So yeah, all good. He might join another time as well. But yeah, thank you everyone for the call.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks so much, Leo, for joining us. Always a pleasure to see you, and I appreciate your input and thoughts, and I appreciate you inviting Briskar, and he's welcome to join as you are, as is everybody else. Every Thursday at 17 UTC, we'll be having events as we embark on the second half of our season. Well, the Optimism Fractal events every other Thursday at 17 UTC, and Eden Fractal events alternating at Thursdays at 17 UTC. So you guys are both welcome to join both these events where we play the respect game of both these. And I look forward to learning more about Ruskar's work as well as what you've been up to these days, Leo. I follow some of your chats in Telegram and so forth, but I'm curious to hear and would love to give you respect in an upcoming event if you're able to make and play the respect game. Um, all right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely like interested and intrigued. It's just that like this time on Thursdays is always overlapping with a bunch of stuff.
hmm
But yeah, I'm glad the call was still going when I could travel. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I remember because for people who don't know, Leo has um, the publication on both Telegram and on Twitter that he organizes some of the, I suppose, public goods events going on in the Ethereum and Web3 ecosystem. And it's a great channel to follow to learn about things going on. But one thing, it's called Civil Notes, I believe. One thing is that Thursdays are very busy for lots of events that are going on. So I understand when you can't make it, lots of other cool stuff going on as well. And yeah, maybe at some point we can figure out some better way to align our schedules. But in the meantime, we appreciate whenever you can make it here after the respect game or whenever you can make it. And hope that you're enjoying all the events and everything's going well for you in general.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, totally. And I mean, that's just the reality of times and time zones. Yeah, I don't really know the perfect solution. I would like to know a better solution, but yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And yeah, if anyone is interested, yeah, it's at Silver Monkey, like yeah, same handle everywhere. Twitter. Telegram. Yeah, I mean currently I mostly do like Telegram. It's just yeah, it's kind of easy. But yeah, other channels in different ways as well. But yeah, thank you all.
Sounds great. Well, you're very welcome, Leo. And yeah, encourage people to check out what Leo's up to at Civil Monkey and on Telegram. I believe also you can go to link dot or Linktree Civil Monkey. And I guess it's at t.me/Civil Monkey or Civil Notes. Feel free to share the link if you want to. Oh, you're right
Yeah,
there.
that's
T.me/Civil
exactly
Monkey.
that's it. Yeah,
Okay.
the at is Silver Monkey, and it's just like the name is Civil Notes, but I mean that's a flexible name, but the actual at is Silver Monkey off the channel on Telegram as well. So yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I see Will is giving hearts and claps. Will's a big fan of Civil Notes. He says Civil
Oh
Notes is a
yeah.
high quality channel. Oh yeah, there we go. All right. Well, maybe I think we're all ready to go then. If anybody has any last thoughts, then feel free. Otherwise, I'm just gonna real quick pull up my screen and then show everybody what we were just talking about. If it's good with you, Civil, I figure I'll just put up on the screen real quick so people can see, and then we'll sign off. We usually go 3, 2, 1, go Optimism Fractal. So I'll do a quick thing inviting everybody to the next week's events and the calendar. So for everybody who has been watching, thanks so much for watching and joining us here. As we mentioned, you can check out t.me/civilmonkey for sporadic but timely, fairly regen align info and experiment that Leo's been doing a great job with Civil Notes, and you can learn more about his work at Linktree Civil Monkey over here too, where you can find links. So thanks so much, Leo, for all that you do in the regen space, and thanks so much, Eric and Will, for all that you do too, and everybody who has been here contributing to Optimism Fractal for almost 2 years now. We invite you to join us back for the next week's Eden Fractal event coming up on Thursday, September 11th, where now with the new Eden Plus Fractal process, you can now be elected as a delegate to help lead the fractal ecosystem. Learn more at edenfractal.com in the blog, and you're welcome to join our events at lu.ma/optimistics, and we'll be having Optimism Fractal again on September 18th at 17 UTC. We'll be preparing for our 2-year anniversary coming up next month. So thanks everybody so much for all your contributions to the Superchain and the Fractal ecosystem and the Ethereum ecosystem. And if you guys would like to join me for Go Optimism Fractal, we often like to sign off by counting down and then saying Go Optimism Fractal together. So if everyone's ready, I think Will is ready. He's ready for it. Got a thumbs up. Eric and Leo are ready too, I believe too. So I'll count down 3, 2, 1. Go Optimism
Optimism Fractal.
Fractal! All right. Thanks all, and see you next time.